Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. I do have one quick favor before we get to the video that you came here for, and that is very simply this. You see that little red subscribe button below this video? Go ahead, smash that subscribe button. It really does help me. It really does help this channel grow and my audience grow. So go ahead and hit that red subscribe button. And now, here is the video that you came here for. All right, let's get into probably the single biggest topic in college basketball this weekend, which ironically, in a weekend with the Sweet 16 leading into the Elite Eight, the single biggest topic in college basketball was actually off the court. But before we get to it, it is, of course, a very serious topic. And if you guys don't mind, I just would like to give kind of a quick moment of silence because it's a very serious topic, and I don't want to rush into this, and I want to pay this topic its proper respect. So please, if you guys don't mind, just a quick moment of silence. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys allowing me to have a quick moment of silence because as you heard over the weekend, Indiana basketball has officially died. It is dead. RIP 1900 to 2021. It was a good run for Indiana. Bob Knight, Calbert Chaney, Isaiah Thomas, Steve Alford. It was an incredible run. 5 national championships. But with the news that Mike Woodson has been hired as the next head coach at Indiana, I just want to say RIP Indiana basketball. It was a good run. We had some fun. We had some great memories, but it is official. We can no longer claim that Indiana is an elite college basketball program. That was officially verified this weekend. And it's kind of crazy because if you listen to this show, and obviously most of you guys do on a pretty regular basis, you know that I have been banging the drum that I truly do believe. I truly, in my heart of hearts, right up until this weekend, believe that Indiana is still a really good basketball job. Big Ten, ton of history, passionate fan base, which is not very happy with me right now talking about this Mike Woodson job. And I truly believed that they could still go out and get a good coach. When you fire Archie Miller and pay him $10 million, I truly believe that there was a plan in place to get yourselves an elite coach. No different, by the way, than when Texas fired Tom Herman and immediately had Steve Sarkisian in mind as the next head coach and hired him basically that morning. I don't know if Sark will work out. I don't know if he won't. But I loved the fact that Texas had a plan. If we're going to pay all this money, this is who we are going to go get. This is who we will get. This is who we did get. And this is who was our new head coach. And when Indiana decided not to retain Archie Miller, pay him $10 million to go away, I absolutely assumed that they had some plan in place. And it started out great, and Brad Stevens was never realistic, but, maybe they can get Scott Drew. He's from Indiana. Maybe they can get Chris Beard. He is from Texas, but, of course, he worked for a long time under Bobby Knight. Bobby Knight is, of course, a mentor of his. Maybe they go get Eric Musselman from Arkansas, and instead they got Mike Woodson. And there's no disrespect to Mike Woodson. I'm sure he's a good guy. I'm sure, whatever. But what I will tell you is he is not the answer at Indiana. I truly believe that. I do not believe that he is the guy to get this program back to where they believe that they should be as a national championship contender every single year perennially, the way that John Calipari became that guy when he got to Kentucky, the way that Roy Williams became that guy when he got to North Carolina. I am sorry, Mike Woodson is just not that guy. Now, for those of you kind of confused, let me kind of even backtrack from here. Mike Woodson, of course, is a former longtime NBA head coach and a longtime just NBA guy in general. He was the head coach of the Hawks for a while, head coach of the Knicks for a while, finished his NBA head coaching career with an overall record of 315 and 365. Not great, whatever. The NBA is weird. If you don't have LeBron, if you don't have D. Wade, if you don't have Steph Curry, not easy to win in the NBA. So I will give him a pass on that. And the reason that Indiana decided that this was going to be the guy was because he did, in fact, play at Indiana. And he has the roots. He's from Indianapolis. He played during the Glory era. And in Indiana's mind, and I guarantee you, when Indiana does this press conference, they are going to try to sell you this. They are going to try to say, this is our Juwan Howard. Juwan Howard, of course, is the head coach at Michigan, #1 seed in the NCAA tournament. They're actually playing while I'm recording this segment right now. But Indiana is going to try to sell that Mike Woodson is their Juwan Howard. Juwan Howard, longtime NBA assistant, like I said, comes back and has a ton of success. Well, let me tell you this. I guarantee you with 100% certainty that they are nothing alike, okay? I get it. They both came from the NBA. They both did not have a huge college background prior to coming to the NBA. But here is the big difference. And I said this on last episode when I talked about Indiana, but it's worth repeating here. Juwan Howard, when he got the job, was 46 years old, okay? he had a son who was a high major recruit who was being recruited by some really good programs. Ironically, that son now plays for him at Michigan. But Juwan Howard was around high school and AAU and college basketball, all while coaching in the NBA. He wasn't hands-on. He wasn't running an AAU program. But the bottom line was Juwan Howard kind of got how it all worked. He was kind of in the circles of, high major assistant coaches, high major head coaches. And I know because I've talked to them. They talked about being in the gym with Juwan Howard. They talked about watching AAU basketball with Juwan Howard. And they said, like, when he got that job, they were like, I think this guy can work. He has that personality. He relates well to kids. He's been around kids these last 4, 5, 6 years as his son has come up. And I think this can work with Juwan Howard. That is why Juwan Howard made sense. This is why Mike Woodson doesn't. Mike Woodson, again, Juwan Howard, by the way, 46 years old when he was hired. Mike Woodson is 63 years old, okay? Mike Woodson has not even been around college basketball in any capacity since he left Indiana in 1980. 1980! I am old as you know what, and I wasn't even born in 1980. That was the last time Mike Woodson was even on a college campus. So please do not compare him to Juwan Howard. Please do not compare him, by the way, to Penny Hardaway, who, oh, by the way, was coaching AAU and high school basketball and had a great understanding of how the structure worked. And, of course, and we'll get into it in a minute, that is my biggest single concern with Mike Woodson. That he ends up being Chris Mullen, that he ends up being Patrick Ewing, who, with due respect to what Patrick Ewing just did last week at the Big East tournament, never forget, Patrick Ewing, all these big-name kids that he's recruited, he either hasn't had success or they haven't stayed in the program. Mac McClung left, went to Texas Tech. James Akinjo left, went to Arizona. His best player this year, Qudus Wahab, right after the NCAA tournament, decides to transfer out. And so that is my concern with Mike Woodson, is he has no background in college basketball at all. He has no idea how kind of the structure of things works, the transfer portal, recruiting, whatever. And now he is going to go on the recruiting trail head-to-head with John Calipari, with Tom Izzo, with Juwan Howard, with Brad Underwood. And that's not even having anything to do with the basketball stuff. But I just don't believe that he is put in place and he is ready to recruit at this level and do what he needs to do. Now, I understand that, of course, any Indiana fan listening to this show will say, oh, nice of you to mention all this stuff, and you don't even bring up that we hired Thad Matta. Yeah, we brought Thad Matta in too. Thanks for acknowledging that. Yeah, what do you want me to say? You hired Thad Matta as an administrator. Big freaking deal. You know why it's not a big deal? I'll tell you why. First of all, let me even backtrack. I had somebody say, oh, at least, way to not acknowledge that we basically hired Thad Matta to basically run the program from behind the scenes. Well, if you're hiring someone to run the program from behind the scenes, it means the real guy you hired isn't the right guy. And I'm sorry for yelling, but I don't know what else to say. Like, what else am I supposed to say? If you had to hire somebody to, quote-unquote, basically run the program, it means the first guy you hired probably shouldn't. And even that, on top of everything else, that's on top of the fact that, let's be honest, Thad Matta wasn't really that good down the stretch. And I understand, and I talked about it a few episodes ago. He's had health issues. I feel bad. I feel terrible. When he was young, he was one of the great young rising coaches in the early to mid-2000s, in the early 2010s. But he wasn't that guy the final few years at Ohio State. As I mentioned, major health problems, and these are all reports. I don't know how he is now, but he's clearly not that good because he is not the head coach of this program. But this was a guy that, as I mentioned, major back surgery, and I hope it's gotten better. I pray it's gotten better. I don't want anybody to go through what Thad Matta has reportedly went through. But, I mean, this was a guy that could, by the end of his time at Ohio State, could barely walk, could barely tie his shoes, could barely, run a practice. He basically sat on a stool at practice. And so, yes, he is an administrator, but it's not as though he was dominating college basketball in his final few years at Ohio State. And even if he was, let's never forget, he's not going to be the guy on the road recruiting. He's not going to be the guy in practice coaching. So what are you really hiring? To kind of give a few ideas here and there? He's not going to be on the bench. He's not going to be on the sidelines. He's not going to be, at Peach Jam with Mike Woodson and his staff. And I'm sorry, unless Mike Woodson hires a bunch of dogs in recruiting, I don't really know what difference Thad Matta makes, and I don't know what kind of difference Mike Woodson makes. And to me, those are the biggest concerns. Can he coach? Honestly, he probably wasn't as bad as an actual coach in the NBA as we all remember. But to me, it's not about coaching. It's about the dudes. It's about the guys. That's what matters in the NBA. If you don't have LeBron and AD, if you don't have Steph Curry, if you don't have whoever, you're not going to win at a high level. And that's my concern with Mike Woodson. Does he know how to recruit? Is he going to hire the right guys? Is he going to bring in the right people? And what do you do once you hit the ground running? Is he going to be a guy? And again, I go back to Chris Mullin. I used to hear stories all the time about Chris Mullin. Like, Chris Mullin made $100 million as an NBA player. Does that guy want to sit at Peach Jam in a hot gym all summer long? Does he want to have to come in the middle of June when campus is dead to host an unofficial visit because a 15-year-old wants to come check out the campus? These are the things that Mike Woodson is going to have to adjust to, and not adjust to at a young age like Juwan Howard, who, by the way, again, knew how college worked. He's going to have to adjust to this as a 63-year-old guy. What does Mike Woodson, by the way, know about the transfer portal? The transfer portal, even just since Thad Matta left 4 years ago, is completely different now than it was 4, 5, 6 years ago. Does Mike Woodson know how the transfer portal works? Is he going to evaluate the right kids? Is he going to get the right kids in? Is he going to even recruit the transfer portal? Oh, by the way, is he going to be able to sell the current Indiana players on coming back to campus? That, to me, is the single biggest thing. That's why I would have wanted an active college coach that understands how the transfer portal works, that understands how recruiting works, that understands that if I don't get the guys that Archie Miller already recruited back, I'm in big, big, big trouble. Maybe Mike Woodson can do that, but to me, it still concerns me about just the idea of a 63-year-old with no experience in college basketball coming back to coach college. Couple quick thoughts, because I've had enough of them. One, first of all, I can't help but think that the AD, I don't even know what to say about the AD. I mean, I made the analogy on Twitter, but imagine being a guy probably somewhere in his mid to late 50s. You worked 30 years to become the Indiana head basketball coach. 30 years, late nights, away from your family. You're flying all over the country. You're doing this, you're doing that. You're missing birthdays. You finally get the big boy job in the big boy chair. And I cannot get this hire wrong. Indiana basketball means everything to people in this state. And if I get this job, this hire wrong, I'm not getting another chance to make another hire. And what do? You go out and hire Mike Woodson? What? I'm just saying. I'm not saying it's definitive career suicide, but like the analogy I would make, imagine me, and I work at Fox Sports Radio. Imagine me working at Fox Sports Radio for 30 years to finally get in the big boy chair to host, morning drive from 9 a.m. to noon Eastern. And I work my whole life, and I finally get in that big chair, and the first show, right after the Super Bowl, I open the show talking tennis or golf or even college basketball for that matter. I'm not saying it'd be definitive career suicide, but it's going to be really hard to make up from. The second thing, and this is what would really bother me if I was an Indiana fan, you can justify Mike Woodson if it is after the NCAA tournament and all the guys that you wanted are simply not available. If you waited until April 4th and you interviewed Eric Musselman and he just said no, okay. Scott Drew, and he just said no. Okay. Porter Moser, and he just said no. Okay. Here's the problem. Eric Musselman is still in the NCAA tournament. Porter Moser just was eliminated on Saturday, 24 hours before the hire. Scott Drew, still in the NCAA tournament. Chris Beard, eliminated about 4 or 5 days ago. Was Chris Beard ever a candidate? Did you really reach out to him? Or did you just kind of say you were thinking about maybe possibly reaching out to him, and when Brad Stevens said no, you went and got Mike Woodson? I would also say on top of that, I do believe that to me, this feels like something that was kind of run behind the scenes by boosters. Never forget, one booster gave $10 million to get Archie Miller out of there. One gave $10 million new dollars to get the new head coach. I have to imagine that booster had a big say in this hire. But the final thing I'll say is this, is that, look, I don't wish Mike Woodson any ill will. I hope I'm wrong. I do. I hope I'm wrong, because if I'm wrong, it means Indiana is really, really, really awesome, and then I get to talk about them a lot, and I get to talk about how wrong I was. And one thing you could say about me, if I'm wrong, I own it. But if I am wrong, that'll be great for me, but I just don't see the scenario where I'm wrong. That's my last thought, is I have been doing this a long time. I've been right on some. I've been wrong on others. I thought I can't think of any off the top of my head. I've been right on some. I've been wrong on others. But I just don't feel like this is the right hire. A 63-year-old guy, no head coaching experience, or no college coaching experience, I should say. He has been an NBA head coach. No experience recruiting the transfer portal. No experience recruiting high school players. No experience understanding what high school players even want. And I know the NBA is going to be a big, well, he comes from the NBA. Well, guess what? There's a lot of guys now. You're recruiting against, never forget, Juwan Howard came from the NBA. John Calipari coached in the NBA. Penny Hardaway came from the NBA. I mean, Memphis still hasn't made an NCAA tournament under Penny Hardaway. How much has that NBA angle really helped him? So to me, I just feel like it'd be one thing if you went through, checked all the boxes. Scott Drew, Chris Beard, Eric Musselman, and they all said no, 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 no. Porter Mosier, no, 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 no. But they didn't. Most of those guys are still in the tournament. Maybe one or two has since been eliminated in the last day or two. But to me, this just doesn't feel like the right hire. Indiana fans, I know you hate me. I know you think that I'm out of my mind. I hope I'm wrong on this one because I really do feel like if I am, here's the good news. If I am, it means that, again, I get to talk about Indiana all the time, and I get to talk about how wrong I was. And for people listening to this show, I talk about how wrong I am all the time. I just don't think I will be wrong on this one. All right. If you guys enjoyed that, I should mention, for the Indiana fans that did not hate that, and for anybody else, please make sure that you are subscribed to this YouTube channel. Find me on Twitter, at Aaron_Torres. Find me on Twitter, or find me on Instagram, at Aaron Torres Pod.